Dum 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 dum. Jam. Ow, jam. Hello, everyone, and welcome to whatever this is. I'm Chewy, and I'm joined by my Manipool co-hosts. We've got... Hang on, I don't remember what order. Brian.
Yep.
And Mike.
Yes.
And Dirk.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really weird that Dirk was the most animated one there. But this week, let's be honest, the last week has been awful. Like, for those of us here in the U.S. Like, just in the last week, the Supreme Court has decided that I'm stealing from a tweet here from Angry Staffer, that only states can regulate abortion. States can't regulate firearms. The Environmental Protection Agency can't protect the environment. States have power over Indian country. And Miranda rights aren't really necessary. Among a couple other things that... Oh yeah, there's the one about the whole separation of church and state being eroded away. Let's not forget that one. That's important. So...
I didn't hear the results of that ruling about the states versus Indian country. That's surprising.
Yeah. So you're in really interesting territory when Gorsuch is writing the dissent, joined by the liberal justices. This is actually an opinion that actually matters a lot to him. Apparently, he has a track record of trying to support the rights of the indigenous peoples. Everybody's got their thing, you know. And he was like, "This doesn't seem like a good idea." So, strange bedfellows and all
that. I mean, for that one, yeah. For the rest, he's still a giant piece of crap. But
yeah, well, I'm not forgiving him, I'm not saying he has to have my forgiveness. I'm just saying they tend to be a little nuanced. Anyway, go ahead.
I can't. That drink I just took went down the wrong pipe. So, because everything sucks, I figured everyone is in the mood to argue.
Yep.
Since we're in the middle of a judicial coup. So, I'm just gonna choke on this. Oh, my green tea's trying to kill me. Damn you, green tea. But yeah, so I figure everyone is mad and in the mood to argue, but let's not argue about things that are important. Let's argue about crap that doesn't matter. Like nerd stuff. And I had this idea a few days ago that I wanted to do a TierMaker stream where I argued with chat about, something. But it's even better to argue with people that can argue back at me rather than just, typing things in the Twitch chat. So I pitched the idea to the Dorks, and they were like, yeah. So we're going to argue about how to rank the films and shows from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because it literally doesn't matter. But we can still argue with each other, because my co-hosts are all wrong about this, because they're all idiots.
Yep. And at the end of the day, no matter who is right and who disagrees with me, the world will not be any better or worse off.
Yeah. So, I guess we should begin at the beginning, and when you get to the end, stop. Quick, who said that?
I disagree. I don't know. Who? That sounds like a code of basic, right?
For some reason, I can't remember if it was the caterpillar or the hatter.
It was the Hatter. Very good. It was the Mad Hatter in the Disney version of Alice in Wonderland.
I was thinking Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
I actually never watched any of the movie versions of that. All right, so
Well,
the beginning
I recently
is.
found out that the old BBC production was on Hulu or something. I
Oh
need to check
yeah,
that out.
I've heard that one's pretty good.
Yeah, I saw a couple of. One of my friends in middle school, high school, or something had either they had the first few episodes on tape or they randomly found it at a video store and we watched it and it was pretty funny.
I've never watched that or the more recent Hollywood version because meh.
I liked it. I know
never,
a lot of people were cool on it, but I liked
I
it.
was much more into I forgot the sentence I was gonna just say. Oh, I was much more into Pratchett's humor than Douglas Adams' humor. Like I've got the first book of Hitchhikers, and I've read it a few times, and I don't know, it just never sticks with me the way that Pratchett did.
Yeah. The second one, The Restaurant at the End of the Universe, is very good. That's actually the first one I read, and I think it's the one that Douglas Adams considers the best.
Might have to look into that then.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no, you're wrong. Pratchett's better. There we go. Whew. Almost forgot what we were doing here. All right, so we begin at the beginning. We've got Iron Man. It's the beginning
Our
of the
tiers
MCU. Now, at the time, we should say we didn't know this was the beginning of the MCU, really.
Mm-hmm.
It was just another movie, but this one was by... not by Sony or by whoever. It was, Marvel. And we were, at least I was, just hoping it didn't blow. Because so many of the Marvel movies at that point were almost there.
Mm-hmm.
Almost.
Like, people like to crap on Daredevil, but Daredevil wasn't that bad compared to, like the 80s Captain America. 70s? The one with Matt, what's his name?
The one with the fake ears?
The one with the rubber ears where he steals a car, yeah.
Steals a car like twice.
And like the first X-Men movie, which was really the beginning of the Marvel thing, it was great at the time, but looking back, we're like, wow, that's what we liked? Jesus. And then we got Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, which was the best.
Mm-hmm.
And set a new bar. But then we still kept getting things that were not great. Like Daredevil and freaking
Elektra.
And the third Spider-Man movie.
And the third Spider-Man movie. And actually, I really liked the first Ghost Rider. Probably because it was Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
He had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah. So yeah, at the time, this was not an MCU movie because there was no MCU. It was just another superhero movie. Another superhero origin movie. I would say like it set the bar, but it didn't because the bar was already there.
I still feel like it's pretty solid. It's a little predictable at times, but thinking about movies at the time, the Iron Man suit, just as a concept, looked amazing.
Oh, yeah.
When he's putting it on, heck, when he's like just testing it out, the whole testing scene in his garage is just fantastic. The characters are okay. We find out later that Robert Downey apparently was literally born to play this role. But it's really the biggest thing for me is the graphics in this one and the visual effects.
Which, weirdly enough, still hold up. While I was doing research for the still haven't done it yet MCU review movies, or videos that I'm still going to do at some point. It's a thing I noticed was that the CGI is fine. And the practical effects for him walking around are fine. Like, they still hold up today, which I didn't expect. Like, I sort of expected, this is going to have aged. Not really.
Yeah. I would put, if our tiers are starting at the bottom, D, C, B, A, and then S, For Iron
That is how
Man,
tier lists work. Yeah.
yes. Well, some people are like double S or whatever. Maybe at the bottom you have B, C, D, and then at the very bottom you've got DC. Wah wah.
I see what you did there, and I
Yeah,
liked it.
but or Justice League. For the list we got right now, I'd probably put it either A or B, like high B, low A.
That is
Yeah.
what I was thinking as well. How about you other two?
Yeah, B is where I would put it. It's not great cinema, but it was a legitimately good movie.
Dirk?
Very much agree. I would definitely put it at high B, low A, because again, it's the intro movie, but it's like it really did set the bar pretty high for a Marvel movie. Especially the very first one, great directors. The directors for it was really good because that was Dave. No, not Dave Filoni.
What? Jon Favreau.
Jon Favreau.
Who's Dave
Which
Filoni?
again, he does the Star Wars stuff.
Oh, okay.
The two of them have been collaborating on the Mandalorian and all that, so it's like I can't remember which one's like the name of which one's which.
Oh,
But
yeah,
anyway,
that guy. Okay, yeah.
but Favreau did like straight up did an amazing job on this, and it very much set the tone for how the Marvel universe rolls with action, like lots of action. You've got the hero is put through a trial,
Yep.
but there's also gaffes and just
Yeah, there's plenty of humor to keep you interested.
right.
The characters are mostly interesting,
Mm-hmm.
except for Rhodey. Thank God they got rid of him. He was the hot. I can never remember the dude's name.
Terrence Howard.
Terrence Howard.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I get all the Terrences confused in my head
Mhm.
because I personally don't know anyone named Terrence. So Terrences don't actually exist in my brain. So like Terrence
Like
Howard,
Derek.
Terrence Malick, Terrence and Philip. Like I don't know any of these people. But yeah, other
Pretty
than
sure
him, and he was the highest paid actor in the movie. And he was like, you're going to pay me more for the sequel. And they were like, no, we're not. And he was like, you can't do it without me. And they were like, want to bet? And now we've got a much better actor in his place. So,
Yeah.
I always liked the original Terrence Howard role, but it only took me like 2 movies before I kind of forgot
yeah, exactly.
that he wasn't. Yeah.
All right. So I'll
So-
put that at B. Because we all agreed low A, high B, except for Mike, who just said B. So that pushes us into B. Okay.
It does.
So then we've
Oh,
got...
Mike.
Jesus Christ, Mike. So then we've got... What?
Now, are the Hulk movies in here?
I mean, the
Yes.
one that's part of the MCU is.
I wasn't sure if that ever really counted, but
Yeah.
okay, please continue.
Because Robert Downey Jr. shows up in the post-credits scene.
Yep.
And also, Abomination shows up in much, much, much later things in the background. So, but yeah, we've got Incredible Hulk, the one with Ed Norton and Liv Tyler. Also,
Okay.
William Hurt, who showed up starting in, I think it was Avengers 2. I think he was in Age of Ultron first. Might have been after that. I know he's in Civil War. Maybe it was in Civil War is where he showed up. But, yeah. As, what's his name? Damn it. Ross. There we go. Thunderbolt Ross.
Damn it, Ross. I'm a doctor, not a something.
So, yeah, we've got Hulk. Now, let's not confuse it with the Eric Bana movie that was by Ang Lee that was not great and had nothing to do with the MCU and was very much weird.
It was
Yes.
that was not a good movie.
Like, I didn't mind it so much, and then the end was so bad that it retroactively made the rest of the movie worse.
Oh yeah, we got to the
It-
end, and I'm like, why didn't the movie end like 10 minutes ago?
the cinematics for the movie, it was like somebody wrote a giant memo. Never forget this is based on a comic book, because they were like, people might forget. And so the visuals were kind of interesting with the panels, but it kind of, for me, it was a novelty that didn't last the whole way through. So
Yeah. Whereas
but we're
this
not
one,
talking about. Yeah.
I did like that it didn't do the origin story. Like, the origin was a thing that had already happened. Like, in the opening credits, it sort of, like, hit the high notes.
Hmm.
And then we pick up, what's it called, in media res, where he's already Hulk and he's working on controlling his anger, and he's in a favela in Brazil somewhere.
Hmm.
And, like, he's been running from the government for a long time at that point, I think.
Yeah.
So, like, a lot of people sort of crap on this movie, but I don't think it's that bad.
No, it's not.
I really like it compared to, the previous one.
I remember I went
guess
and hung out with you at your apartment and watched it. I don't really remember anything about it besides the fact that, Ed Norton is the Hulk and he fights the Abomination.
Yeah.
Like, I had no recollection of Liv Tyler being in the movie.
Yeah, she was Betty.
She was the love interest.
Hmm.
And the daughter of General Ross.
Yeah. And it also had a guy who was apparently supposed to be Leonard Sampson, but he was the guy from Is it Modern Family? I don't watch any modern sitcoms, but I think he was the guy from Modern Family. The dad that everyone loves. He played her new boyfriend, who was supposed to be Dr. Sampson, which Dr. Sampson in the comics is also gamma irradiated somehow, and the longer his hair is, much like Samson from the Bible, the longer his hair is, the stronger he gets, apparently, and he has very long green hair.
See what they did there. Wow.
And every time, the only reason I knew this is because somebody went to grab him by the head, and he freaked out and screamed, "Not the hair!" And whoever it was picked him up and threw him. And I was like, why did he say not the hair? Is he that vain? And I looked it up. I'm like, oh no, he's very strong when he has. Oh, that's stupid. But
so I guess first disagreement time. I would put this one at D, except I don't really care enough about it, so it's a solid C for me.
Yeah.
Like,
no.
I
These
don't
are things
hate
that are
it.
like actually bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like, actually, like.
is there anything on this in the MCU that would deserve to be on an actually bad list, though?
Yeah.
Thor: The Dark World.
I mean, I watched Thor: The Dark World again, not like a couple years ago, and it's way better than I remembered. It's still the worst MCU movie, but it's not like it's bad.
It's D. I feel like is for Marvel movies that the plot just like there really is no driving the plot. Like
Okay.
the plot just doesn't make sense. The plot leaves lots of holes where you're just going, what? I don't understand what I just watched.
I think to answer your question, Chewy, I don't think there's much that's going to end up at D, but I think there may be one or two things.
Okay.
Overall,
I was just
the
checking.
curve here's, yeah.
I didn't know if we needed to rescale, like, instead of D being... I mean, there's no F, so there's nothing that's, like, literally unwatchable.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't know if, like, D would just be the worst of the MCU, or if D was actually not good. Because it's not a thing we talked
like
about beforehand.
D is the worst of the MCU, understanding that that's still not,
That bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I would have been ready to put Inhumans at D, but it's not on here because not all of those TV shows are on here. It looks
Yeah, none of the previous TV shows count as
We
part
don't
of the
have
MCU.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and none of the Netflix shows, none of that counts. So,
Okay. Oh, no Daredevil.
no Daredevil. Yeah.
Okay.
All of that stuff, it's really weird. All of that stuff was like one-way canon. Like, it accepted that the movies happened, but the movies ignored them completely.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
a bad choice. They should have supported
Yeah.
them.
Agents
Yeah.
of S.H.I.E.L.D. spoilers for a TV show that started, in 2012, brought back Agent Coulson. And they're like, oh, cool. And ran parallel to most of the Marvel movies. In fact, it ended the year after Endgame came out. So you kind of saw some of the events, but nothing in any of the movies referenced Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Only like Chewie said, one-way canon. Like, it was the end of the first season, when Hydra was revealed to be in S.H.I.E.L.D., and there were still like 5 episodes to go, was huge. And the show did a fantastic job with it.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then it didn't make its way. The events of the show didn't really impact the movie. I think one of the only things was it explained where the helicarrier came from in Age of Ultron. It turns out that Coulson was working on it, or something like that. But you didn't really need to know that for the movie. So
Like,
I
in the
keep-
movies, Coulson died and was dead and is always dead.
yeah, he's like Uncle Ben,
Yeah. Thank
not
goodness.
the rice.
Okay.
But okay, so back to Hulk.
So going back to the scaling, so we're saying since Hulk is, if something is forgettable, it should, but not necessarily bad, then it would be at D tier.
I mean, however you want to do it, man.
Yeah.
We're here literally to argue about this.
Yeah.
Like, I understand we're trying to set the rules, but
Yeah.
this is also the point of this is to be subjective. So
Yeah,
then I would
idiot.
put Hulk
There
at
we
D
go.
because I don't remember anything about it.
yeah, then I'd put it at D because I don't know
Yeah.
there's many Marvel movies that I dislike more than Hulk. There's a couple, but it's down there. So I vote for D.
Brian loves
It
the
really
D.
didn't. Yeah, plot-wise, it really didn't drive or move or do anything
I mean,
at all.
it got Bruce and Betty back together. It got him back in.
But they're not together in any of the movies. Anything past this movie.
Well, that's because that's a rights thing. I don't know how they managed to get Ross actually for the MCU. Because, like, you'll notice that it's not on Disney Plus. It's
Right.
currently on HBO Max. But that, much like the Sony Spider-Man movies, I don't remember who actually has the rights for it, but it's not Disney. And that's also, from what I understand, why they haven't done any more standalone Hulk movies. They keep putting him in with other heroes, like in Thor Ragnarok. And that's because of rights nonsense. Like, they can use him in movies, but they can't give him his own movie. And I think the lack of Betty was part of that. And I that could have just been Liv Tyler not caring, but they could have also just recast her. So I don't. So I'm not sure how they managed to finagle Ross if they couldn't get anyone else. It's very strange.
Not the Hulk.
But I mean, I personally, as far as quality goes, I would put it at C because I like it more than most people do. But I'm also in the minority there, so I will give in and say, okay, we'll drop it at D
Okay, so we got our first D.
because Brian loves the D. So
Yay! Hey, call your mom. Hey, mom, I got my first D today. She might actually take that the wrong way, so you know what? Never mind.
is there
What's
a
up
wrong
next?
way? So next up was Iron Man 2. So this introduced War Machine, and it gave us, the roadie played by the better actor who, why can I not? Don Cheadle.
Cheadle. Is it Cheadle or Seattle?
Cheadle.
I thought it was Seattle like Seattle, but
No.
okay.
Yeah, no.
Then I am totally wrong. Sorry, Don. Don't hate me.
Imagine that Brian messed up a pronunciation.
Pronunciation. Yeah.
It's okay. This didn't introduce Nick Fury because he showed up in the post credits, but it was the first time he was a character.
It introduced Black Widow.
It gave us Black Widow. It gave us, like I said, War Machine.
Yeah.
And it also gave us Justin Hammer, who is way more entertaining than Obadiah Stane was in the first one. Because Obadiah Stane was just like, all right, money and power, money and power, money and power. And then at the end, he sort of goes unhinged. Whereas Justin Hammer is trying so hard to be, like, also Tony Stark. And is just so bad at it. Like, he doesn't have the charisma. The actor does. Like, I freaking love... why can I not remember any actors' names all of a sudden?
The actor did a great job. And he did a great job portraying this role.
Rockwell. Sam Rockwell. He's great. But, like, the Justin Hammer, the character, has none of the charm that Tony Stark does. And he does it so well. Like, you can tell he's trying to be charming and clever and just isn't. It's so great.
Yeah.
And also, I guess we got
good job with it.
the constrictor dude who
Whiplash.
That's his name, yeah. Who was like, all right, whatever. He was fine.
Yeah. Now I will say this about Obadiah Stane. Without Obadiah Stane, we never would have gotten the Tony Stark built this from scraps meme. Because in a desert with scraps.
With a box of scraps.
Yeah. But he was pretty forgettable. Hammer's much better. I feel weird. I don't know that it belongs in the same tier as the first Iron Man. But it's either a C or a B. To me it's a high C, low B.
Like Ectocooler?
Yeah, I would put it lower than the first one because again, I'm big on the plot. I'm big on okay, what's making this movie interesting to me, and that he's got platinum poisoning going on from the suit and everything, and then his dad gives him a sign that, hey, here are you making a new element that saves his life and everything. It really just feels like clumsy storytelling in that section.
Yeah.
The action and everything else, I think, is pretty decent. But that part of the movie just makes me, like, I'm scratching my head going, I don't quite understand how... I mean, they're trying to make it so that like he really is just like I don't care. I would say C.
Yeah.
Are you saying that you read the magazines for the plot, Dirk? Since you're very focused on plot, or is that just about the movies?
Just the movies.
All right. Then.
Anyway. Brian was trying real hard there, much like Justin Hammer.
Sorry, it fell.
You're taking up my spot with all the dad jokes.
Like, the problem I had with Iron Man 2, like, on retrospect, is that it's there simply to set up that there's more coming.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, some of the stuff that they do, like with the platinum poisoning and Tony being, it's the closest where we ever got to the demon in a bottle storyline where... the man in the multi-billion-dollar weapon is, drunk.
Mm-hmm. And just doesn't... He is being self-destructive at that point.
Yeah, and, like, he's a danger to himself and everyone around him.
Yeah.
But, like, so much of it is just like, oh, we got a whole lot of stuff coming. Like, look at it. Look, there's War Machine. Huh? Look, there was a Captain America's shield prototype. Huh? It's like, oh, okay, guys, we get it. So, sounds like we're all on C for that.
I'm fine with C.
Oh, wait a minute. Excuse me, I have too many windows open, and I missed in the chat. Bogart said that in the Hulk, it's the same as the Batman argument. Like, the Hulk parts were good, but the Banner parts were difficult to get behind. See, I didn't feel like that for the Incredible Hulk. Like, I thought that the Banner bits were pretty good because, one, I love Ed Norton, and two, like, they seem to really understand the character. Like when he and Betty start making out, and the heart monitor on his watch starts beeping, and he's like, "Whoa, no, 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 can't get excited." And she's like, "Not even a little excited," and he's like, "Mm." I thought that was a nice, like, character building touch. But it's probably just because it's Edward Norton. Like, I don't know if... Actually, no, because I really liked the Banner bits in other movies with Mark Ruffalo. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, next movie should be Thor. Should be Thor, yeah. Where is the first Thor?
Down at the bottom.
Oh, there it is.
Third from the last.
All right, so Thor, the
Thor,
like Shakespearean space thing.
Okay, so Sam would be very unhappy to hear me say this because I started showing her the MCU movies back over the the pandemic and the early pandemic in 2020, and she saw Iron Man. She was like, eh. She saw Captain America. She was like, really didn't care for it. It was Thor and Loki especially that really got her into it. Then she saw the Avengers, and for a long time the Avengers was her favorite. But Thor was never my favorite of the original movies. He's fine as a character, but he didn't really hit his stride. His standalone movies for me did not hit their stride until
the
later.
third one.
We'll get to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
This I thought was really like super predictable, and I get not every movie has to have twists and turns, but I was literally like I probably could have told you everything that was going to happen from the first 10 minutes. Loki's fine, and in fact Loki remains one of the most compelling, best villains, period.
Yep.
But it's not because of this movie. It's because he was allowed to breathe over the course of several movies, whereas so many of these villains, Obadiah, gone. Abomination, one movie, then very much like...
Held for a long time.
Yeah. Blink if you... miss him if you blink sort of thing. Even Hammer died, right? So...
Hammer didn't die, but he showed up in one of the Marvel shorts.
Okay.
And I don't think we've seen him since. And it was soon after Iron Man 2, I think.
Red Skull, sucked through a wormhole. So many villains are like there for a
One
movie.
and done, yeah.
And Loki is allowed to exist in more than one. Well, it's no wonder that, he's given more character development. That's how that works.
Yeah.
I don't hate it, but for me it's a C.
Okay.
Feel free, bring it on if you disagree. Bring it on.
Like, I loved what they did with Asgard and with Thor, because if you think about it, trying to turn Thor into a film is just ridiculous. And I think Kenneth Branagh and Kevin Feige did a glorious job. Like, it's really awesome for a Thor movie. Like,
yeah.
I think that his character, like in the first Iron Man movie, his character arc takes the whole movie. And in Thor, he's like smug prick, smug prick, smug prick, smug prick. Oh, now I'm selfless. What?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. They did take a while.
The funniest parts were the fish out of water. Like, oh, I don't know how this works, but like this world works, and I'm not used to not being a god. But they almost didn't really do enough of that. And then, like you said, all of a sudden he's like, I appreciate life now. So.
Yeah, all of a sudden he's like, I will sacrifice myself for these humans that I don't know, even though 20 minutes ago probably wouldn't have, huh?
I mean, one of them is really hot. Oh, and so's Natalie Portman.
I was just saying Natalie Portman's
But-
there too. Oh, my man!
And that's not a dig on her, but Dr. Silverman, jeez. Wasn't
Was that her name?
that his name?
Oh, okay. I was thinking of her assistant.
Oh, yeah,
Whose name
from
is
WandaVision.
Darcy.
Darcy?
Yeah, there we go. But then I've had a crush on her for like ever. So what?
He's very adorable.
So yeah, but as much as I love Thor, I don't think I can put it terribly high. Like I would go like B or C myself. Cause I love it, but I recognize it's not all that.
Yeah.
No, I have it at C. Chewie has it as B or C. Dork, what were we gonna say?
I was of the ones so far, I would put it on par with the first Iron Man movie.
Okay.
Because yeah, he really is a prick at the beginning of the movie, but then when he cannot pull the hammer, he really does sort of like, I don't know what to do now, and so he really does come across as lost. And it's not until he's like, I don't know what to do, and there's lots of machinations going on. It's
a good word.
it does push, and it pushes him to self-reflection, and he does feel like that becomes a little bit his character from that point on, that he's not the selfish prick from that point forward, and you can see that in the movies after the first Thor movie, that he is more self-reflective of after because of this movie.
Yeah.
I'd put it at B, but no higher.
And Bogart's on my side. He says, I will always say the turn was too fast. Yeah. Like, he goes from, I'm way better than all, I'm a god, to, oh, meh, in like 20 film minutes. It's like, come on, man. Make it gradual. It's like a switch was flipped. It's like, sorry, you can't pick up the hammer. Dad's dead. Sucks to be you. And he's like, I guess I'll be a good guy now. What? So, Mike, it sounds like you're the one who's going to figure out where it goes.
I would definitely.
Pressure. Sorry, go ahead.
I would definitely put it at B. I enjoyed Thor a lot. Yeah, I'll grant that the story was, fine. But I think they kind of had to start with a story like that for the first Thor movie as a bridge to introducing that part of the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
The mystical, mythological side. They had to have that story. Thor's on Earth, lost his powers. There's been arcs of that in the comic books
Several times.
Yeah, as a bridge between Marvel universe on Earth and this other side. That Thor's interesting, that it kind of bridges the mystical, like that part of the universe where Thor operates in, like bridges like mystical and space. So that's interesting. But yeah, and
at the same time, which is bizarre if you think about it for a second.
And I really enjoyed getting that first glimpse into that part of the universe and getting to know it and introducing those characters. And it was exciting. It was fun. I would put it at B. I liked it.
All right.
Again, not great cinema, but good stuff.
Sounds like Dirk and Mike have pushed it up to a B.
It does.
Which, yeah, I mean, like I said, I figured it was either a B or a C. Plus, we didn't even mention Anthony Hopkins and Heimdall. Idris Elba. Yeah, there we go. I don't know why all of a sudden I can't remember anybody's freaking name in any of these movies.
And then there's the Warriors 3, right? Certainly they'll be given a lot more character development in the next couple movies, right?
Yeah, and certainly pivotal. One of them won't get an entirely new actor that no one noticed.
No one noticed. Anyway.
All right, so Next up, we have the first Avenger,
Captain America. Yep.
Captain America. And while you guys argue, I have run out of drink, and I am, from my choking earlier, I'm dying here. So you guys talk. I'm gonna run and get a drink. Ordinarily, I could just disappear, but because I'm on camera and it'll be an empty chair, I can't do that. So I have to explain things.
So this is another interesting one because for me it is the low point of the just standalone Captain America movies, which is, by the way, the concept of the standalone movie sometimes is more loosey goosey than others because Captain America Civil War might as well be the Avengers Civil War. I know he's the main character, but I mean, come on. But to me, the first Captain America was the lowest, but it's, first of all, from an objective standpoint, I feel like it's still pretty good. It does what it needs to do. And then from a subjective standpoint, I'm sorry, but the scenes of him in the military and really before he gets the serum,
Wrong.
I don't know.
Sorry, I just put
I
my
don't know,
headset back on.
Yeah, and then they made me their chief. So I was saying, Chewy, that I felt like this one was not the best Captain America movie, but subjectively for me, I don't know if it's just my background or what. The scenes before he gets the serum, where you're really kind of seeing what what makes him special before he ever gets it. The scene where he literally throws himself on top of the grenade tells you so much, while everybody else is like running away. It tells you so much about his character that 1,000 punches will never do. And they have arguably done the I'm just a kid from Brooklyn, I could do this all day, they've done it to the point that even the characters themselves are making fun of it. Like in Hawkeye, it's it's the refrain in the song. But still, for what it was at the time, honestly, I'd probably it's absolutely a B. It's absolutely a B. I can't quite get it to A. Captain America movies get better later, but it's a solid B. It is like it's if B is like 80 to 90%, it is like an 86.7 on the final exam.
See, for me, I can put this at A without thinking. Because I love it. I'm a sucker for well done period pieces, especially like alternate history period pieces. And like Captain America being only kind of a superhero has always, I don't know, appealed to me for some reason. Like he's just like a strongman plus one. You know, if Batman is regular human, then Captain America is Batman plus one. Like he's not like a superhero. He can't like, pick up cars and throw them, but he's pretty strong,
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that his main weapon is defensive, and the fact that it's Red Skull and Nazis, and I don't know. I just love this movie way more than basically everything that came before it. So I can put it at A without blinking.
I say B. Chewy says A. Dirk and Mike?
So, I'm letting Mike go first.
Well, I was just going to say, this is, believe it or not, this is one of the ones that I missed and never caught up on.
So in the first act, no.
This one...
Mike, you're fired.
Spoiler alert, Steve Rogers becomes Captain...
something or other.
Didn't they decide Captain Hydra or something?
I mean, that was just briefly. It was a comic book stunt.
Yeah.
When it comes to before the Avengers, if there was all right, here's the Marvel movies, which one you want to watch? Every time Captain America.
Yeah.
It was straight up the one that I would default to, and even today, looking at the list, I'm like, Captain America still holds a really high spot. Because again, as Brian said, it establishes that he's the little kid who just doesn't like bullies. He will fight, and it sets up the scruples he has from the beginning, and he is very consistent with it from this point forward.
Yeah, he is definitely the most consistent character in the MCU, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So
Consistent, yes, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have a character arc. And
Oh, yeah.
it's really interesting to watch, and we can get to this with Civil War later, but it's really interesting to watch Tony grow while he claims to be like, I privatize world peace. At a certain point, he starts losing faith in himself and starting to be like, hey, we can't do whatever we want. And to watch Captain America, the classically trained soldier, like World War II greatest generation soldier, start to realize that the people he put his faith in, the government and everyone he thought was worth admiring, maybe doesn't get how things work on the micro level, and to watch their arcs kind of run parallel and yet diverge. But anyway,
I put it at A.
Woohoo!
so we have Mike who hasn't seen it, me who is at B, and great, a really solid like yay kind of B, and you guys at A. So okay,
So
I
Brian is
know when I'm
wrong and
lost.
Mike is bad.
I won't forget this.
Correct. Okay, then we have the Avengers,
Yep.
which I don't even think there's really any discussion here, is there?
No.
Like, the
No.
first Avengers blows. No, I'm just
Yeah,
playing.
it's just
I'm
terrible. Like,
Definitely a
yeah,
D.
yeah. I so I don't know.
Which one of these little icons is this? I can't read these.
It's the one that he's
it's-
moved all the way to the.
Yeah.
I'm not watching the stream because that would kill my.
That would
connection
kill.
to
Yeah,
you.
it's the one where Tony's got his hand up and pointed.
Okay, got it.
It's
Yeah.
like stop in the name of love. All right, so
Before you blow
I
up New
remember
York.
when this came out, and it came out at the same year as
Yeah, the worst Batman movie.
I would say Frozen.
trilogy. Yes, there have been worse Batman.
Okay,
movies.
sorry, the worst Nolan Batman movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I can take a step back, and 10 years later, yes, it was 2012, be like, yeah. Still not that bad of a film.
God, was
though.
it 10?
But,
Really? Jesus.
yeah. But, before we go down that rabbit hole, I remember seeing the Avengers, and there were a couple plot holes in it. Like, I don't know. Hey, we left Loki up there, and he never escaped. Wah, wah, wah. But you can nitpick any movie. I think it's an S. It remember what it stood for at the time it came out. This whole project at the time was to see if they could get there. And yes, the individual movies were very entertaining. If they had never made the Avengers and they had made the other ones we've talked about, everybody would be like, "Hey, remember those movies? They were pretty cool."
They were
right?
pretty good,
Hey,
yeah.
Yeah. But they did this in a way that everything clicked.
Yup.
And it was amazing.
Yup.
So and it there's a reason why DC, I give them some crap. There's a reason why DC honestly rushed to try to make their own cinematic universe. There's a reason why was it Universal, the horror
The
films,
Dark
they tried to-
Universe that got
the
one
dark-
movie and fell apart.
Yeah. Or like two. Didn't they make a Frankenstein movie that nobody saw? But there's a reason, because this set, yeah, it had Harry Potter, right? Or somebody else. Anyway. No, it had Professor X. But there's a reason why they all wanted to do this, because this set the gold standard. So
Yeah.
S for me.
Yeah. Lanky, I think, said it best. He said, at the time, it was the coolest thing I ever watched. And it really was. Like, again,
It holds up too.
and it does. But looking back, you have to remember we'd never seen anything. Now it happens all the time, but we'd never seen anything like this because every superhero movie was either like part of like Batman is part of a trilogy, or it was a self-contained thing. And this, the MCU, I don't even think we had started calling it the MCU until Avengers, but I could be wrong on that.
I think you are correct.
But like we had Iron Man, and then Hulk, and then another Iron Man, which introduced more characters, which gave me several nerdgasms, and then Thor, which I never thought would ever be a thing ever, and then we had a World War II Captain America movie, and then they like tied it all together and brought them all together with Hawkeye and Black Widow in there too, and it was good. It worked.
Yeah, it worked, which was amazing.
And then I think what cemented it in my mind was the end of Avengers where we got the Thanos post-credit scene, right?
It was.
I almost had like a nerdgasm panic attack. Like I found it hard to breathe because my face was locked in this position.
I was so glad that they did that one first and the shawarma scene later, because I never even realized that it was a post credit scene sort of thing until later. And
it wasn't even in the first. It wasn't even the initial release of the movie. It was added in later, right?
No, it was in the initial release.
In the States, it was when it was like the premiere and whatnot. I don't think it was there.
Okay.
Like the red carpet premieres and whatnot. I mean,
so. I know that over the years I've asked Chewie, I'm like, hey, you know comics and blah, blah, and Chewie sometimes is like, yeah, and sometimes he's like, I have no idea what that is. But it's because I literally, as a kid, knew I knew like 2 comic themes. I knew Dark Phoenix Saga, and I knew Infinity War. I remember Infinity War when it was coming out, like seeing some of the issues, and I remember seeing like the what if Silver Surfer got the Infinity Gauntlet.
Hey, I had that one.
So to me, Thanos was like the OG villain, and then later,
I think it was
actually
What If number 49.
Still the comic book person in the group, definitely. But it wasn't until later that I even really read like a Spider-Man comic or anything. And to this day, actually, while I appreciate comics as an art form, it's not something I've really gotten into. But Thanos has stood with me, so I'm right there with you. I'm like, could it be? And then it said something about like, to fight them is to court death. I'm like, I know this one thing about Thanos is he loves death. And he turned around and I'm like, mission complete.
I almost died. And Mom, who I see all of the Marvel movies with, leaned over and went, "Who's that?" And I was just like,
That's nobody, Mom. Don't worry about it.
It's like,
it's just
like for real though, Thanos has been my favorite villain in comics since like the early years of high school. Like when I collected the Infinity Gauntlet story, and then Mom for Christmas one year I had written down the Thanos quest, and Mom got the comic guy at one of the shops to find Thanos quest for me, and I opened that up and I almost shat. Thanos quest is the story of how he got all of the Infinity Gems, and it is a brilliant bit of character building, and Jim Starlin writing Thanos is some of my favorite stuff ever. But seeing him show up in a movie is never something that I ever thought would happen, because comics are a stupid, nerdy, niche hobby, and a big purple puss dude with a weird chin. That's not a thing you're ever going to see in a movie. You nerd, shut up. And then there he was on screen, and it didn't matter at that point that the rest of the movie was brilliant. Like, that was all I saw. And I was like, but yeah, the rest of the movie's good too. And all of the things that Brian referred to as plot holes are actually explained if you think about it for a minute. So
Like how Hulk was able to go from being I can't control myself to I'm a, I have complete control over my rage now. Not complete. Anyway, I'm not here to dissect it. It's a
yeah,
good movie. I put it S tier, and we haven't even heard from the other two yet.
that
You
one's
see,
easy.
it's because he's always angry.
Well, yeah, that
Yeah,
one's easy
well-
because when he got transformed up there, it was because the Loki and the scepter and whatnot were getting in his head and like twisting him. Like you remember, all of a sudden he was holding the scepter and didn't remember picking it up. Yeah, that
I
was
do remember that.
Loki and the scepter were poking at him, and it was an involuntary change. And then down during the fight, when suddenly he's friendly Hulk, it's because he willingly let it take over and he did it himself, and it wasn't forced on him. See?
I
Easy.
concede the point because we need to keep moving, and I already put it the highest tier anyway. What do you want me to say? Mike and Dirk.
Yeah.
Definitely S.
All right then.
I would put it at A. It's an awesome movie, but I would reserve S for something that I would say, wow, that's something really special. And I do have at least one thing in mind on here that I would definitely put it S. And it has that something special. But Avengers is definitely A. It's awesome. It's great. There's lots of cool scenes and characters in there. One thing I appreciated especially was, during the big battle at the end, you got to see like the difference between the different kinds of superheroes and what they were able to do. You had Hawkeye and Black Widow, these two extremely highly trained, regular humans doing, cool stuff. But then there was a point where, no, someone else is going to have to take care of that thing. So then you step up to Captain America and Iron Man, who are, super enhanced humans. They're doing all this awesome stuff. But, the space whales show up and they're both like, nah. But then you have Hulk and Thor who just, run up and punch the space whale out of the sky.
And grin about it.
Yeah.
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 That only counts as one.
Yeah, I did appreciate that they managed to make each character have stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like Hawkeye was recon and picking off things here and there, and Natasha was like taking out key targets and using like their gear to take out a platoon. Like she took over one of the sleds at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, stuff like that. And Cap was the planner. He's like, all right, here's what we're gonna do. And yeah, the whole thing, just they were all useful. It's not like he said in Age of Ultron. He's like, and I've got a bow and arrow. What do you want from me?
And my wife.
My
who you'll
wife.
never hear-
I'm sorry.
You'll never hear on this show. But I saw Avengers in the theater, and I was like, I think she might like this, but she's not a big comic book person, and even action movies in general, she's not always a big fan of. And most of the movies, she's like, it's okay. And it was so gratifying when we got to Puny God and Carrie laughed out loud.
Ah,
She's like, that was her favorite part of the whole movie.
that's awesome.
So, something for everybody.
That was a really good scene too.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on. That's phase 1. We've been going for an hour. Let's see what we can do here. Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
D. Is a whoa. Damn.
I mean, yeah. The villain. I mean, cool twist or no? Because I'm going with no.
Have you seen, well, on that point, have you seen Shang-Chi yet?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And it's almost saying something that a much better movie almost had to break its back to be like, look, see, this character wasn't a complete and total waste. And I'm like, sure, fine, whatever.
I mean, the real villain of Iron Man 3 was actually his PTSD from his experiences in the Avengers.
I mean, yeah.
And I think that part of it was handled really well.
I I I give the film credit. I like the fact that that stuff stayed with him. He was not just like, "Great, I saved the world. I'm awesome." I get that. But it's never going to be my favorite,
Oh, well, no.
like by a long shot. And most of it, what I remember, I don't like. And truthfully, sitting here, a lot of it I don't remember. Which I think, as Mike said at one point, that's one of the worst things is when you have a piece of entertainment medium and it does not stay with you. I'm going with D, and I'm not here to fight about it. Well, I guess I am here to fight about it,
I was going
but
to say, yeah, that's totally what we're here for.
that's totally what we're here for. I think it's a D.
But yeah, like,
I just did not. I didn't enjoy seeing it in the theater,
The,
and for me, that's tough.
I really enjoyed the Mandarin thing. Like, the first thing they did was take him from, you know, a Fu Manchu type racist villain to a modern, like, terrorist leader, you know, like an Osama bin Laden, where he makes these threatening videos and then kills some people and then that's it. And then the further twist. So I really liked that part where they modernized the character.
Yes,
And then the
that
twist
was not
where
bad.
he was really just a drug-addled actor, and it was the extremist guy whose name I can't even remember. I thought that was a nice touch.
Ben Kingsley?
What? No, that was the guy who played the
Oh.
Mandarin. I mean,
He's talking about the actual antagonist who,
yeah,
was the guy that
with
showed
the
up
extremist
that one
virus and
time. Yeah,
whose henchman kept blowing up or whatever.
yeah.
Like, I appreciated a bunch of the story. I really liked how the Iron Legion, Aldrich Killian, thank you, Cyclops. I really liked the Iron Legion where all of his old suits, you know, were put to good use. I thought that was cool. The main problem I have with it is the end where he's like, "All right, yep, getting rid of this thing in my chest, gonna have some surgery, gonna be good." But then in the rest of the movies, he's still normal ass Iron Man, and I'm like, okay. Like, it sounded like he was gonna either give that up or scale back, but excuse me, no, he didn't, like, at all.
They couldn't make it work for the rest of the movie, so it was just there for this one.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like the Philip Coulson. They never address it. He's always got an arc reactor anytime you see his chest.
Does he?
But they never.
Like, I know he was gonna get it removed at the end of Iron Man 3, and I don't know if you ever see it in his chest in any of the later movies. Like, it's in the suits.
It's in the suits, and it's in that general area. My point is that you could take out that last scene, and it doesn't take anything away.
It doesn't change anything at all. And since it was the end of the movie, that always kind of bothered me. That in Age of Ultron, he's like, "Oh, I'm still Iron Man," and I'm going, "Wait, weren't you? Hold on."
Yeah, I've said my piece, and I've been talking a lot. Anyway, I'm gonna be quiet now.
Sure you are. Yeah, like, I wouldn't put it at D personally. I'd put it at like a C with Iron Man 2, but I get why you would say D, to be honest. How about you two?
Go ahead. Another one I missed.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I would say C or D.
Well, that doesn't help us, Dirk.
I know.
We have Mike abstaining because he hasn't seen it. I have it at D, and Chewie has it at C, and you're saying, yeah, one of those.
All right,
and
chat.
like,
We need you to break the the tie here because Dirk is indecisive.
I enjoy that he had the Iron Legion, that all came out, and they all did stuff, and he's went between, and he sort of showed where the advancement of the suit was leading, and that he eventually got the thing out of his chest. But again, you have characters that were one and done.
Yeah.
It really didn't drive the overall MCU story-wise.
We also got William Sadler as the president, which I always liked. The actor. And the Iron Patriot.
Yeah. It really just felt very lackluster. And I would definitely put it as the least for Iron Man movie.
So chat, we have
I'm kind of thinking D.
Is he roboting?
Yeah,
real
Dirk,
hard
you were
to anybody
roboting
else?
something fierce.
I'm sorry.
Like T101, maybe.
Everyone
I would put it at D because of all that.
Yeah, everyone in the chat except for Bogart has put it at D, and then Bogart goes, "Nope, I changed my C to a D." So, okay, we'll put that at D. All right, so then we got Thor: The Dark World, which we just slot that into D and move on, or should we talk about
Yeah,
it?
let's do
Like,
it. It didn't. It has probably the least memorable villain, other than the guy from Iron Man 3. But it's got the Dark Elves and
Malekith?
Malekith, and it introduces. It's the first one to really use the word Infinity Stone, because
I think so,
Avengers Avengers has the Tesseract, which is also shown up in the other ones, and has the Mind Stone, although it's in the staff and nobody talks about it. It's the first one, and it made me go, "Oh, cool!" And that's it. The whole idea of like the convergence and all that, the whole thing. I get that some movies are going to be more out there than others, like see Doctor Strange, but it just like no. I'm staying with D. We've been going for a while, and maybe I don't need to spend 20 minutes on every one.
Yeah.
I put it as D.
Like, the story is by and large forgettable. It's really there to introduce one of the Infinity Stones. Although the bits with Thor and his mother are so good.
Yeah.
And also, we can't forget the most memorable thing, which is meow meow.
What?
That's what Darcy calls the hammer.
Meow meow.
Instead of Mjolnir, she's like, meow meow? Because at one point it goes flying past her, and she points and goes, meow meow! Anyway. But yeah, it's got one of the worst villains, period, in Malekith, who's just like, I smolder with hatred. Why? Shut up. Oh. They did me wrong. How? Shut up. Evil. Bad. Kill them all. What? You want to talk about this, buddy? Shut up. Dead. Although it does have and the bits with Thor and Loki are actually really good too. But I don't think that the bits where Thor's interacting with his family are strong enough to make it any better of a film. It was really kind of forgettable other than those couple of bits. Mike, did you see this one?
No, I wanted to, but I missed it.
Well, we really talked him into it now.
All right, Mike. Seriously, though, you and me and Ashley need to get together and start watching Marvel movies.
Yeah, probably.
Right after Supernatural.
Just get together, watch one or two, and then I'll kick you out. I'll take notes because I need to take notes. All right. Was that all of us, Dirk? You said you talked about stuffs, right?
Yep.
Okay. So then we have the Winter Soldier, which I'm just gonna start off and say that's an S. Winter Soldier
S-tier.
is one of the best movies in the entire MCU. Full stop.
Yeah.
So-
This is my slam dunk S-tier movie. This is the one that
See?
I've seen the most times out of all the movies that I have seen. You know, if there have been a couple times where I've happened to notice it playing on TV, you know, because ABC is associated with Disney and whatever, and sometimes they'll play movies, and I'll just, you know, stop whatever I had intended to do that evening and watch Winter Soldier on TV.
So, I'm going to agree. I think it's S tier. I want to note that the time I saw it, it was not my favorite, but I was never really one for the like intrigue spy movie sort of stuff. But we're allowed to use whatever subjective opinion we want on this, and I'm gonna say that since I have seen it, the first time I have really grown an appreciation for it. And seeing not only what it set up, but what it really did with these characters, and having seen it since the first time, uh, I high A at the very least, but I won't fight on this one. S definitely.
Dirt.
Definitely S for me. As what has been said, it's the one that if I'm, it definitely threw what everyone was like, oh, okay, they're protecting the and just threw it a hardball, and just it. I think it pivoted the MCU to make you go, oh, the Shield's not the good guys. Okay, the world just got really complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yeah. And the Winter Soldier just there are definitely times when like you have a character who just makes you go, okay, this is gonna be an interesting fight. And yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites.
Nice. Yeah, the Russo brothers did a hell of a job. It's not a superhero movie. It's a political thriller with superheroes in it, and
Yes.
I think that was to its that was not to its detriment at all. That it leaned into one genre and left the superhero stuff as just dressing, which is why I agree with Alex Shaw from School of Movies on this. Superhero is not a genre. Superhero is like a trapping.
Mm-hmm.
And Captain America is one of the main things to point at and be like, see? Okay. So that was quick. Next up we have the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I don't know. I haven't seen this one in so long. I remember I loved it.
It's great.
I saw it in theaters and it was amazing.
Yeah.
This is where we get to the point that everything is just so great. Now it doesn't stay this way, but I don't know that it's really right to have like 12 things at S. But this is our own
if
list
we think they're
too.
S, then that's where they go.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm gonna actually let somebody else go first because I need a second to think about this one.
Yeah, me too. How about you guys?
For me, like kind of like how in my mind Thor got a bonus because it was the first foray into the mystical part of the Marvel universe. Guardians of the Galaxy, it's already very good, and it also gets a bonus because it's finally our first foray into the spacefaring side of the Marvel universe.
And like, it didn't dip its toes into that side of the MCU. It jumped the
No,
hell
it was all the
in.
way- yeah, we didn't spend 30 minutes on Earth first. None of that nonsense. We got right into it and did it, and it was great.
Like all the ridiculous bits and of everything. And like, I remember saying to somebody before Guardians hit theaters, I'm like, if this works and they can make a good and popular movie out of something as insanely niche as the Guardians of the Galaxy,
Mm-hmm.
then they can do literally anything. And then Guardians came out and blew everyone away, and I'm like, the sky's the limit now, bruh. Like, they can take the most ridiculous crap and turn it into an MCU movie, and it'll work because they made Guardians work. And nobody knew who Guardians of the Galaxy was. No, you didn't. Like, I didn't even recognize I recognized all the characters, but like, I didn't recognize this version of the Guardians because my knowledge of the Guardians comes from the 90s.
Uh-huh.
Like, I knew who Rocket was vaguely. I knew who Gamora was because I've been reading like the comics that had Thanos in it. I knew who Drax was because this version of Drax actually isn't the Drax that I grew up with. This version of Drax showed up in Annihilation, which I'd read, so I understood this wasn't the big flying energy shooting Drax. This was, oh, wears jeans and long knives. Okay, got it. Star-Lord, I knew who he was, and that was it. Like, I don't think this has anything to do with Star-Lord from the comics. It's sort of like Tony Stark. Like, they just made a new character, and essentially for the movies, and slapped his name on it. And Groot, the only Groot I knew of was from, like, an old, like, I want to say 60s, like, space monster comic where Groot was the villain.
Wow, really?
Yeah. And so, like, even me going in, I didn't know hardly anything about this, and it was brilliant. And blew me away. The fact that they made it work at all, and they leaned so hard into the space stuff and the ridiculousness. Like, Yondu was one of the original Guardians of the Galaxy from the 90s. And seeing him played by, you know, the racist redneck dude from The Walking Dead was like, what? And it worked? What? So, like, I'm going to give Guardian, it's either an S or an A. Like, it's up there. I'm just not sure where. And I don't think Mike ever finished. I interrupted him.
No, I didn't finish, and I guess I'm not sure exactly which one to put it in. It's so tempting to do S, and since it's so tempting, I mean, I guess why not? Why not?
Dirk,
All right.
have you said yet?
Yeah, Dirk, what you think?
It is just like they were saying, it really just drops you into a side of the MCU where you're just going, I have no foundation on this movie. And you're just going, but it's very funny.
Yeah.
It's, I would say, I would put it at A.
Okay.
You know what? I'm gonna say We Are Groot, and I'm gonna put it at S because I'm sorry if you didn't tear up a little bit when that happened. You have no soul. So
That is true. Oh yeah, it was the first movie where we got to see a bunch of the Kree and the Nova Corps.
Yeah.
Oh man, my brain was telling me that was the second movie. No, that was all in the first movie. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Basically everyone in chat is
because-
saying that it's an S too. So
Yeah, because Ronan the Accuser was the villain in the film.
was the villain, yeah, and I knew him from Operation Galactic Storm.
Yep.
Which I was gonna say is probably where Mike knew him from. Didn't I give your brother all of those? I think I did.
One of us, either him or me,
Or yeah, did
because
he
I
give it
have
to
the
you?
whole thing from somebody.
Oh, maybe I gave it to you then. Because I found it in trade, and I was like, I don't need these individual issues anymore. Nice. All right, so next up is Age of Ultron. This one's hard for me.
it got a lot of.
I don't remember whether I saw this one. Is this the one that you invited me over to watch before we went to see another movie, or am I thinking of something else?
Maybe? Like, this is the one with,
Does this one come
with
right
Ultron,
before?
obviously, and the Vision shows up because he gets created, and the floating continent, and Flash and Scarlet Witch.
Yeah. Which one comes right before Black Panther?
Right before Black Panther is, hang on. Black Panther. Thor Ragnarok.
No. Something with the Avengers. Anyway.
Well, I mean, this Age of Ultron is an Avengers movie,
Mhm.
so
I think that I think we went to, I think you came over to watch this before we saw Civil War.
Maybe that was it.
Because I'm pretty sure you have to have seen Age of Ultron for Civil War to make much sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, okay, for Age of Ultron, I loved Ultron. I think James Spader clearly was having a blast
Yes.
being Ultron. And I kind of liked a thing you have to realize about the MCU is that damn near everything that Tony Stark did was wrong. And once you realize that, things make a lot more sense.
Yeah. Yeah. He had the best intentions, but he just went about it all wrong.
Yeah, and like Ultron was one of his major mistakes, but like the movie itself, it was fine.
And that was interesting because I remember before Age of Ultron came out, I heard about, them people talking about an Ant-Man movie, and I'm like, why? And then I heard about Age of Ultron, and I'm like, oh, that's why. And then I heard that Ultron had nothing to do with Ant-Man in this story, and I'm like,
and now you're back to
why? Why again?
But like the bulk of the movie is just, okay, Ultron hates us all, and which, to be honest, if we make an AI and we give it access to the internet, it's gonna want to wipe out humanity because we're awful. And so, like, that makes sense. But then the bulk of the plot is, okay, Ultron hates us all, and he's gonna extinct us by picking up this city and then dropping it. And also, we gotta save all the people on the city and then stop him from dropping it before it gets too high and wipes out the rest of the world. And that's like 95% of what's going on. And like fighting a bunch of random Ultron robots. It felt like they were trying too hard to replicate fighting all of the Chitauri from the first Avengers movie. Because otherwise, what are all of the Avengers gonna do? You gotta have something for them all to be doing. And it really, like, comparing it to the first movie is probably unfair, but it's also unavoidable. And I think it suffers because of that.
It's unavoidable because it's literally the next one in the line that has the tag.
Yeah. But like the Hulkbuster armor was really cool. The way they had developed to deal with Hulk and get Banner back was really cool. I enjoyed the alternate takes on Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. James Spader, the Vision, picking up Thor's hammer and just handing it to Thor like, here you go, like it wasn't a thing.
There's nothing I can do to make you trust me. Oh, here's your hammer back, by the way.
Yeah. And also, like, Cap trying to pick it up and Thor getting concerned, like an actual, like, is he going to pick up my hammer? Look on his face. I think he could have, and he knew it, so he didn't. I really believe that.
That's the sort of thing where I didn't even pick up on that until much, much, much later. So.
Yeah, I think that it started to budge, so he stopped and was like, oh, can't get it, sorry, because he didn't want to embarrass Thor. I genuinely believe that. But but yeah, like the movie as a whole is fine. Like I would probably put it at a B for myself.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be a C, but it's not an A.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Mike?
I'm still not convinced I saw this movie. I'm just not seeing it in my head. I know stuff about it, but I think it's from flashbacks and references in other movies and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh. I mean,
that is a possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so B then.
Okay.
Put it there.
Yeah.
All right,
It
so
wasn't a terrible movie, but it was
Our-
not as good as the first Avengers movie.
yeah.
So, question for you guys: are we gonna finish this, or is this gonna be a two-parter?
I mean, we can stop. Ant-Man is the end of Phase 2. We could stop at the end of Phase 2 if you like, since it is this late already.
Yeah.
Let's do that, and then we
'Cause
know
Civil War is the beginning of Phase 3.
Oh yeah, classic D movie.
Yeah.
So
So,
yeah,
yeah. So Ant-Man was another of those examples of a movie that is a different genre, like a genre, but has superhero stuff in it. Like Ant-Man is straight up a heist movie.
yeah.
And heist movies, just for full disclosure, are my favorite subgenre of movie, period. Like, I
Pushing-
love stealing movies. Movies that are about stealing get an automatic, like, +2 for me.
Oceans, whatevers.
Yeah, the Ocean's movies, Heist, The Score. I mean, those are just the ones from, like, the 90s that I love. But any sort of movie that is a heist movie, just, oh, I love it. So, Ant-Man, for me, personally, slots right into, like, A. Because it's funny. It's not at all what you'd expect from a Marvel movie. And it's a heist movie.
Got a
Also,
very
Baskin Robbins always finds out. Thank you, Cyclops.
It's got a very different take on the protagonist, as opposed to all the ones we've seen so far, and I really dig that.
Yeah. Plus, you've got Michael Pena as his buddy. I forget his name, and that makes everything better.
Absolutely.
Luis,
he
yeah.
was a hoot in this movie.
Louise's stories, where
Yes.
he's telling the story, but it's in his voice, are that whoever decided to do that. That man
Yeah.
man or woman, I should not judge. That writer deserves a raise. I don't care if they got a raise; they deserve another one
Yeah.
because it was
Now,
so well done.
This one had some behind the scenes issues. Like Edgar Wright was supposed to be the director, and that bit that you're talking about feels very Edgar Wright, but it ended up being directed by Peyton Reed. And so it wouldn't surprise me if that was one of the Edgar Wright bits. Because I don't actually know anything about Peyton Reed, I'm sorry to say. He did Bring It On, Down with Love, The Breakup, Yes Man, and then the 3 Ant-Man movies. Huh. None of those line up. So yeah, like I said, I can slot it into an A. How about the rest of you?
I feel
Yeah.
like A is good. High B, low A. So I'm good with that.
It was another one of those. It was sort of similar in the vein of Guardians, where there was a lot of fun, but it was also a story that did get pushed forward and everything. So yeah, I'd probably put it A.
Plus you had the giant Thomas the Tank Engine and the giant ant.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that scene
Ant.
where, oh my god, okay, where they're fighting and they're small in the kids' room, and the giant, the regular sized toy Thomas the Tank Engine is coming at them, and just before it slams into them, it cuts back to a full shot of the room, and it's just a toy falling over. And that is one of the most brilliant shot transitions I've ever seen. Like in cinema. Where it's like, oh no, we're gonna get hit by the train, and then like,
Yeah. Yeah. It was really well done.
So Mike, what did you think?
This is another one that I missed, but I know people loved it, and I was happy to read about it and impressed by what they did, because in the comics, Hank Pym, the original Ant-Man, Giant Man, he called himself different things, was just a horrid jerk, and created Ultron as kind of like a straw man to a villain he could defeat to show the Avengers he wasn't useless. So reading about what they did with this, I was really impressed.
Yeah, the villain wasn't really much, but also like the scale was scaled back because we kept dealing with big important things like when the Winter Soldier was, oh no, Shield is has been compromised and just an assload of people are about to die, and then in Age of Ultron, oh no, it's an extinction level event, and then in Ant-Man it's he's gonna steal my technology, man, like which still would have been bad, but it wasn't like end of the world bad. And Paul Rudd being a vampire in real life, not in the movie, in case anyone's going, what?
Because he never ages.
He doesn't. Dude, I watched Clueless like just a few weeks ago. No, actually it was several months ago now at this point. But it looks like he's aged like 5 years since Clueless happened.
You said Paul Rudd, which is very appropriate because we're talking about the Ant-Man movie, which has Paul Rudd. I heard Paul Reiser in my head, and I'm like, did I ever forget that Paul Reiser was in this movie?
Yes, you did, because he's not.
And he's a vampire? What?
Jay Spencer asked, did Mike even exist in the mid-2010s? And only sorta. If we're being honest. Because, yeah, Mike had stuff going on. Back then.
Yeah, I think that was soon after I moved out here. Yeah, that was after I'd moved out here and started the new job.
Yeah. So, yeah, Mike had other stuff going on. So, all right. Well, I guess we'll stop there because we have been going for a freaking hour and a half, and we've only made it through the first 2 phases. So, next time we do this, I'll try to keep this up. I'll screenshot it if nothing else, and I can rearrange them. But, yeah, next time we do this, we will tackle phases 3 and 4. And continue. I didn't think we'd get through it all, but I didn't think we'd only make it halfway. I forgot how good we are at arguing with each other.
It's true. Wait, no, take that back.
Shut up, Mike. I mean, I'm amazed that we have 3 things that we had as D and only 1 C.
Yeah,
I like a lot of these movies, but some of the ones we got coming up, I have opinions about.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, really. Wait, we already went through Dark World, didn't we? Okay. Now, we'll...
Yeah. So I guess we'll stop there. So yeah, let us know in the comments or in the Discord what you thought and how dumb we are. Although most of chat that's here live is agreeing with us. So by and large, there were some questions about what Iron Man 1 is in B, really? But other than that, chat mostly seems to line up with us. So maybe we're actually kind of predictable. But yeah, maybe this will just be the plan for next week too.
There you go.
But all right. So this has been the Dorks arguing over nerd crap. Thank you all so very much for joining us. And you're wrong and we're right.